Globetrotters are around. Woohoo! I love the Harlem Globetrotters. I am a big fan of the Harlem Globetrotters.
Who is it?
I've told this story before on the radio. It's worth saying again. When I was 9 or 10, somewhere around that age, I had some illness. I was pretty sick. Mom, dealt with most of it, right?
Of course.
But Dad came home from work one time and said, now listen, you got to get better. And then he pulled out these tickets, and he says, because I have tickets for us to go see the Harlem Globetrotters at the Spectrum.
Wow.
And I was like, wow.
Mind blown.
Just wow. So, of course, I followed instructions, and I got better. And it was just the greatest. I'm 48, and like 40 years later, I'm remembering hitting my dad's leg like, where's Curly Neal? Where's Curly Neal?
Yeah.
Where's Curly Neal? Oh, my God, Dad, Curly Neal's not out there. He's not out there. And then Curly pulls off the fake afro that he had on, and his bald head shines all the way up to the second level where our seats were. Dad couldn't spring for the lower level seats. Pops was on a budget.
Of course.
But, and it was the greatest thing. The popcorn trick, all the stuff. All the things that the Globetrotters do are in Wildwood this weekend. And in fact, I almost think what they did then was just a presentation and a show. What they do now, well, my goodness. And we're stoked to have on Chris Handles Franklin with us as he joins the show. Not only, Ryan, is he an unbelievable dribbling guard, right?
Yeah.
He's also from the Harrisburg area, which means he is a E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles fan. Handles, how you doing on this Friday?
I'm doing great. I am doing great.
Well, if I can't get you pumped up with stories about me as an 8-year-old, what can we inspire you with, right? Tell us about your time in Wildwood. This is a annual stop for the Globetrotters, and one of their, most of the tours are in the wintertime. So this is a summertime stop, and that's what's so great about it.
Yes, it's very rare for us to tour during this time of year, but every single year we come back to Wildwood, and we'll be there tonight and tomorrow at the Wildwood Convention Center for an amazing show. And I think your story said it best. We try to create memories that last forever, and we create memories that bring people together, bring families together, and it's a show you don't want to miss.
So Wildwood Convention Center, we're talking with Handles Franklin, and I also got a big inspiration from reading your backstory a little bit. I mean, first of all and foremost, like Lock Haven, that's not Duke, that's not North Carolina, right? I mean, I had a buddy of mine that went to Lock Haven. I think he's in engineering, right? He's not dribbling the basketball. So, here you are, and you got a great degree at Lock Haven and second on the school's all-time assist list and all those kind of things. But yet it wasn't just like, oh, Lock Haven right to the Globetrotters. It wasn't like an automatic connection for you.
No, ironically, I wanted to be a Harlem Globetrotter since I was 6 years old. They were my introduction to basketball. I saw them on the cartoon Scooby-Doo, and I knew I either wanted to solve mysteries or play for the Globetrotters. But afterwards, I took a long tour. I did a bunch of commercials, did a bunch of different things with basketball, was known as one of the best dribblers in the world, and the Globetrotters came looking for me. So I'm truly living a dream.
Now, that commercial, right, that's a little historical, too. Like, you were with Nike, so your first commercial was at a Cleveland church with who?
Well, that was actually my third commercial. That was with LeBron James. It was his very first commercial.
Okay.
And it was his introduction into the NBA, and I had a chance to be the person he passed the ball to and started doing tricks, and I had a shot alongside LeBron James.
And I'm stoked about the other day. Say the other day who you were with, too, because he's no longer with us.
Well, there were a couple people.
Bernie Mac. I'm thinking about Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac, and also Moses Malone was in that commercial.
Well, there you go. Now I see why you paused, right? Two great people that are no longer with us.
Yeah, two greats in that commercial. And actually, my first commercial, Freestyle, actually won 13 awards and is in the African American History Hall of Fame. And that's what makes the Globetrotters so iconic. They're also in that same museum, and to bring it full circle, I had an opportunity to do that, and now I'm playing with the greatest team in the world.
Yeah, in your bio, you talk about the girl in the airport in Sydney, Australia, right? G'day, mate, right? That's my poor Australian accent. But,
wow, so bad.
Thank you very little. Why don't you relay the quote? Like, what did she say to you?
She said, look, Mommy, it's Superman. I had on the iconic red, white, and blue. And I said, yes, little girl, I am. But, I think that's the same infectious smile that Curly Neal did all over the world. We tried to do the same things. I had a lot of time spent with the legendary Curly Neal, and I try to be just as infectious to others.
Handles, obviously, your nickname's Handles, so you know how to dribble a basketball. That's how you got famous and known, and that's what you do on the Globetrotters, among many other things. But in your bio, I found a very cool fun fact. You also hold a Guinness World Record. If you want to, tell the listeners exactly what that is and what else you do besides just handling the basketball.
Well, the Harlem Globetrotters are synonymous for the trick shots. And Meadowlark Lemon used to shoot the hooks from half court, which Big Easy Lofton does now. But I would shoot it from on my knees backwards from half court. For the Guinness World Records, I wanted to make it a record that no one could break. So I went to about the opposite top of the key, over the head, 60 feet, 0.75 inches or something on net.
All right, so my next question is, immediately hearing that answer, how the heck do you practice for that? How do you get good at that type of shot?
Well, it's Harlem Globetrotters, man. We play over 250 games a year, but before every single game, we practice for about 2 hours. And a lot goes into it, and we try to perfect to be the best that we can be. And that's the shot that I shoot every single day from half court on my knees. It's almost like practicing a foul shot or a regular jumper.
Yeah, it's cool. Like you said, it's America's team. It's one of the most popular teams really in the whole world. Like you said, you were in Sydney and a little girl stops you and sees the famous suit, and it's been around for a long time. PT remembers when he was 8 years old getting tickets. But now, like in today's social media world, what changes have been made behind the scenes and when people come see you? Because now with social media, you can put clips on YouTube. There's things happening at a very quick rate. So how has the Globetrotters, I guess, evolved is my question.
Well, like any entity, you have to evolve with the times. But, we've been able to emotionally connect to and thrill every member of the family, and that's our goal. So I think in the past, you only had, when we played on Wide World of Sports, there were only 3 or 4 channels. So people tuned in. There's so many different outlets. But, I think that we're able to captivate them in a number of ways. We've changed the game in a number of ways. We have our 4-point shot, which is a shot 30 feet away from the basket. And a lot of the changes that we made to basketball, they've changed in basketball, period. The 3-man weave, the alley-oop slam dunk. So we're inventors and innovators of the game, and we continue to push the envelope.
We're talking with Handles Franklin. At Chris Handles is his Twitter handle. The Globetrotters are in town. This is the 9th straight year that they've come back to the shore, the Jersey Shore. They've got games tonight at the Wildwood Convention Center and tomorrow night. Plus, I'm sure today, Handles, you were involved with the kids clinic, right? Every day from 10 until noon, a 2-hour youth basketball skills clinic that you make available. And that's got to be a real treat for you, for kids ages 6 to 12 to interact, and you interact with them.
Yes, that's always one of the highlights. Sometimes when you're in a game, even though we're in the audience quite often, but when you get that one-on-one time with the kid and you're able to help them not only with basketball, but help them have fun, it's always a great thing for us. And we do those things it's something special that we do just for Wildwood. So we have camps during the day for kids, and then at night we play our game.
Now, I'd be remiss if we didn't walk down memory lane together. Of course, Wilt Chamberlain was a Globetrotter. I wasn't around in 1958 and 59, so I wasn't watching. Wilt Chamberlain is a Globetrotter, but I mentioned Curly Neal, right? Geese Osby, I guess. These are retired numbers. Who of these guys, you and I don't think are that far apart in age, by the way, or maybe you're of course you're younger and certainly more svelte. But tell me, who are some of your favorite Globetrotter names from the past that, for then you to put on the iconic uniform, think like, man, I'm in the same uniform that was worn by who?
Well, Curly Neal was always a favorite of mine. He was actually, he was an idol of mine and turned into my mentor. He's still part of our organization. The great Sweet Lou Dunbar, who was also at Wildwood Convention Center. We just retired his jersey this year. but he's the cartoon character Gizmo in the Globetrotter cartoon that will pull the gadgets out of his afro. He's a legend and an icon and a character in his own right. But those are some of the greats that I watched and try to mimic. Of course, the great Meadowlark Lemon and the great Marcus Haynes. They were all great basketball players, and a lot of them Hall of Famers.
Yeah, so many great names. And I will say this, because you're on the radio in New Jersey, specifically you're in Wildwood, we are in Northfield, we're not far from Margate, New Jersey, and maybe somebody's told you this and pointed this out to you. Red Klotz, spent a lot of time in the Margate, New Jersey area. And, of course, for how many years did he bring the Washington Generals around? Even when he no longer was involved with the Globetrotters, Chris, he would be found on the Margate recreation courts, and people would think like, look at this grandpa. He's not going to dust me.
He doesn't miss.
And he'd sit there with his set shot and just ba-boom, 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 just knock him down right at the, JCC over there in Margate. So a tip of the cap. I mean, I can't talk to you and not bring up Red Klotz. I'm sure you're aware of his connection to the team for so many years.
Yes, of course. Red Klotz was a great friend of mine. And he's a legend in his own right. Red, I've been on the team for 13 years. I knew Red extensively. He was still heavily involved in our organization the whole way up, and he was actually part of the Washington General team that beat the Harlem Globetrotters way back in 1971. So Red Klotz is definitely a legend in his own right.
Yeah, what's the streak at now? I mean, is that something you guys put on the wipe erase board before you leave the locker room, or are we in a 2019 era where, come on, that other team ain't winning?
Well, actually the Generals are getting tougher and tougher by the year, but we don't want to repeat that 1971 basketball game. It was I think. Curly Neal and Meadowlark Lemon described it to me as it was almost like shooting Santa Claus. So we don't want to bring that back. So we plan on playing hard and getting the win here in Wildwood.
Says Chris Handles Franklin in a market in an area where fans allegedly threw snowballs at Santa Claus, or one inebriated fan, right? All right, before we let you go, your enthusiasm for this Eagles season, right? We've promoted you as being the gigantic Eagles fan. Obviously, Carson Wentz has to stay healthy, but what else has you souped about the Birds this year?
Oh, man, it's so much about the Birds. Of course, having Deshaun Jackson back, having that long threat to match with Aguilar and Alshon, with the best tight end in the NFL and the greatest quarterback in the NFL, I think it's a lot to be excited about. And I'm excited about these young running backs. Well, this young running back we have from Penn State who's looking great, and of course, the running back we got from the Bears.
Yep.
So I think it should be a very exciting season for Eagle fans, and I'm looking for another Super Bowl.
Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, you're talking about there, and we're talking with Chris Handles Franklin again. He's a Harlem Globetrotter, ladies and gentlemen, and they are in Wildwood right now. Go down and see them. They play 7 o'clock tonight. They've got the clinic tomorrow, and then play again at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. All games and tickets available for the games and the clinics at Ticketmaster.com, the Wildwoods Convention Center box office, all kinds of ways to get tickets. Plus, there's discounts for groups of 10 and more, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, corporations, nonprofits, all that. But reach out, find a way to see the Globetrotters while they're in town. Hey, Chris, we certainly had a great time visiting with you. And by the way, before I let you go, even when it rains in Wildwood, it doesn't get you upset. That these guys couldn't go on rides. And this guy, William McDowell, tweets out, hey, thanks for giving my kid a ball to spin on his finger. He's been trying to spin it for the rest of the night. I mean, that's what you guys do, ambassadors of fun.
Well, you know what? Wildwood is a very unique and special place. The convention center is so intimate that you really get up close and personal with the fans. And my buddy John Lynch down there does an amazing job with that convention center. We really love the Wildwood area. It's beautiful, and it's a great time to get the family out.
Well, we're happy you're back in the area. We'll encourage our listeners to get out there and have a great game or two. And thanks for spending some time with us on the Sports Bash, Handles.
Thank you, and thanks for sharing that story, man. We love to create memories that last a lifetime, and your story definitely touched me for the day. I appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate you. Chris
Thanks,
Franklin
Handles.
with us here on the Sports Bash.